Elijah Victory, and we are presenting the educational system in Cameroon. We are under the Department of Educational Foundation and Administration. So Cameroon has four systems or four levels of education. That is the pre-primary, the primary, the secondary, and the higher institute of education. Now, in 1884, two separate systems of education were used in Cameroon after independence. That is, the East Cameroon education was based on the French system of education, and West Cameroon education was based on the British model. So we are going to be having the first speaker who will tell us the structure of education in Cameroon.
The structure of education in Cameroon. Firstly, it's made up of 4 stages. The first stage, we have the pre-primary, which is made up of 2 years, and after the 2 years you go now to the primary stage, which is made up of 5 years. You are guaranteed after the 5 years to acquire first primary level certificate. The remaining 2 years you use it to acquire the advanced level certificate, going now to the higher institution. For the private sector, it is 2 years which you acquire HND, and for the government sector you make 3 years which you obtained bachelor's degree, which after your bachelor's degree you have 2 years for a master's degree. After a master's degree you go 3 years for a PhD.
That was absolutely the levels of education in Cameroon and how we can acquire them. So now we welcome the next speaker to talk to us on the pre-primary education and its objectives in Cameroon.
The pre-primary education consists of the nursery education, which usually starts from the ages of from the age of 4, and the duration for the studies is usually 3 years. This level of education was placed under Minidu by Decree number 72/28 of June 1972, and by this time this organization was not well organized, but today it is placed under the Ministry of Basic Education. Some of the objectives of pre-primary education is to prepare children for primary education, to cater for children while their parents are at work, and promote the physical, social, and intellectual development in children. Some of the problems faced by pre-primary education, we have expensive, inadequate teaching materials, shortage of playground, and lack of teachers, especially in private schools. Thank you.
That was perfectly correct, and the objectives on point. We aim at attaining those goals. Now welcome the next speaker to talk to us on the primary education in Cameroon and its objectives.
I'm to talk on the primary sector of education in Cameroon. The primary sector of education in Cameroon is the second level of education in Cameroon. Here lies, it starts from class 1 for the English section, class 2 up to class 6. After these various classes are completed up to class 6, a certificate is awarded to the student, be it the first school leaving certificate, with the common entrance that permit the student to have access to the secondary level. And for the francophone side, we have it starts from CIL, CEP up to Kumwende, and the certificate that is issued after these various classes are completed is the CEP, that is the Certificat d'études primaires and concours d'entrée en 6e, which permits the students to have access to the secondary level. Now we are going to see the objectives of this primary level or this primary sector. It teaches the students mathematical skills, that's how to calculate. It teaches them alphabetical skills, how to read. It also lays the foundation for the next step, which is the secondary education.
That was absolutely correct. He said it all. That's how we roll in the primary sector of education. But despite all of that, we still have a lot of problems faced now. So we are calling on the next speaker to elaborate on us the various problems that are faced or that is faced in the primary sector of education. King?
The problems faced in primary education in Cameroon have so many kinds of problems, but one of foremost is the infrastructural development. Now, the concern of the primary education, we find out that the schools are not well developed in the sense of the structure. Classroom sizes are small, a lot of population of students. Then the toilets are inadequate to make students to get sick, to have poor good drinking of water. Now the next option is low quality of teachers. Now we have so many kinds of teachers, but they're not well trained to teach these primary students to go to the next level of secondary, just because they are not motivated, so it makes everything to be slow for them. So most of the things they mostly do is to get extra classes for students, which makes it difficult for them. And because the parents don't have money, it makes them sell their properties, makes them sell their lands just for their children to go to school. Another problem faced by the primary education is school close-up. Now, in this case, we find out that it mostly concerns the private sector, because most people now mostly create schools for children to easy access of learning, so as to reduce the level of illiteracy and reduce the level of school fees. But we find out that people doing that are not helping, because they're only in to have to attract money from other people. So when the government finds out that people do this without their consent, it makes them close schools up. And when they close these schools that are created by private sectors, it makes the students hate it. And so they are motivated to go to school, mostly stop going to school. So it makes them use school dropouts, and also makes them can do other jobs.
Well, it's so sad that though we have an educational system, we still face some problems. And we pray the government helps us in overcoming all of those challenges. Now we'll be calling on the next speaker who is taking us to the next level of education in Cameroon. That is the secondary education in Cameroon.
I'll be talking on the two systems, which are the French and the English systems. Now, I will start with the English system. At the level of the secondary, after a child must have gained admission to a secondary school, which with the qualification of a common entrance examination, now you will start from Form 1 to Form 5, which will be acquired a certificate of ordinary level certificate. For the rest of the 2 years at the secondary level, you acquire an advanced level certificate, making the secondary process for the English 7 years. For the French system of education, when a child leaves school Monday, after acquiring the certificate, he comes into the secondary school. For the first 4 years, the student will acquire a certificate, BPC. After, at the level of for the next 3 years, 2 certificates will be acquired to make it a complete process, which will cost 7 years, which is at the level of premier, préparatoire, and terminal bac. After they have acquired all these certificates, which is the advanced level for the English section and the back for the Francophone system of education, I would like to go back and start from the objectives of this system, of this level of education, which is the third level of education in Cameroon. First of all, it builds a spirit of love and loyalty on the students to the nation. It also helps the students to build a foundation for the next level of education, which is the higher education. It also helps the students to acquire knowledge, aptitude, skills, which helps them in their day-to-day life. Secondary education also has as an objective to train the students to have self-esteem, to be able to express themselves in public gatherings, also to think critically and give verbal judgment on some issues. It also helps the students. It also train the students in their moral life and spiritual, as many religious institutions train children like the Catholic, Presbyterian, likewise the Baptist.
That was well said and done by the previous speaker. He highlighted the various objectives and the advantages, but despite that, we still have problems facing the secondary sector of education in Cameroon. We'll be calling on the next speaker to come and elaborate the problems faced in the secondary system of Cameroon's education.
There are several problems faced by Cameroon secondary school. Here are a few of them. One, we have access to education. There are many students in Cameroon who do not have access to education due to due to lack of infrastructures and inadequate funds and poverty. We also have school dropout. Many students in Cameroon face school dropout due to unwanted pregnancy, lack of money and funds to further their education. Another problem faced by Cameroon secondary school is gender inequality. Girls are often discriminated when it comes to education, making their enrollment to school lesser than that of boys. Also, examination irregularities. Exam malpractice is a major problem faced by Cameroon students and teachers, as most of them are caught cheating, especially when it comes to government examinations, making it a major problem since our children cannot think when it comes to their bookwork. Thank you.
Problems well said and done. We plead on the government to highly see into this so that we can overcome this. We have been talking about the different sectors of education and the levels and how the children are trained, but now we want to see the models who train those children. So we are calling on the next speaker to talk about the teachers training education in Cameroon.
Teachers training education. Teachers training education refers to the policies, the provisions needed to equip teachers to effectively perform their activities in a classroom, in a school, and into the society at large. Despite this sector has challenges as lack of transparency and criteria needed to appoint head teachers, lack of finance in the educational sector.
Accurately on point. In Cameroon, we train teachers as models to train future models. Okay, when a child is born, he starts from the kindergarten to the pre-nursery to the primary to the secondary school. So now, at this level, we'll be calling on the higher education speaker. But now, at this level, you are considered a student. In French, we say you are an étudiant. We'll be calling on the speaker to come and tell us on how the higher education in Cameroon is functioning.
The higher education in Cameroon. The Ministry of Higher Education in Cameroon. The Ministry of Higher Education in Cameroon monitors the educational institutions in Cameroon, and it is headed by the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Familongo. It works in collaboration with the universities and has a lot of goals and missions that they have to see them accomplish. In the higher institutions, they don't only train students, but they come up with people that will go out into the world and become professionals in what they've studied in school. And the Ministry of Higher Education work in collaboration with the ministries to ensure that educational policies are productive in the country. The Ministry of Higher Education has the following as goals, as any other institutions will not just be put in place for fancy, but has a lot of goals that they want to see accomplished. Some of the goals put in place by the Ministry of Higher Education, firstly, is to ensure bilingualism in Cameroon. We are in a bilingual country, and we have the French language and the English language. That is, for example, in the University of Buea, we have French 101 and French 102, which ensures that we don't only speak English, but they make sure that we speak both languages, that is French and English. They also have as their goal to quest for excellence. All the students that enroll in the universities, both the public or the government universities or the private universities. Secondly, the Ministry of Higher Education has as one of its goals to promote science and culture in progress. They don't only teach the students in the higher institutions how to study their books or teach them how to read. They teach them how to they have as their goal to put into practice what they have been taught in class. Since as we are also in a democratic country, they also have as part of their goals to promote democracy in the country. Thank you.
Knowledge with wisdom is the motto of the prestigious University of Buea. So as nature may have it, everything has its good and its bad side, and as well as life may have it, there are advantages and disadvantages, and as well as problems. So we are calling on the next speaker to tell us some problems faced in these institutes.
Talking about the problem facing higher institutions in Cameroon. Firstly, students frequently have difficulty in accessing learning materials. Learning materials like textbook. Most students go to school without textbooks, so they don't have money to acquire the textbooks. So it is difficult for the learning and teaching process to go on. Secondly, school dropout. The school dropout is another problem faced by the higher institution. Some students drop out of school because of unwanted pregnancy. Inadequate capital to continue education. Thirdly, we have lack of infrastructure, especially in rural areas. Rural areas like the villages, they have low infrastructure. They don't have good infrastructure for learning process to come in. So they face difficulties, especially with the new media, with the new way of learning, which is e-learning, which students learn through internet. So it will be difficult for students to meet up with the demands.
That was well said and done. University of Buea, a place to be when you are not there. So we thank our last speaker for that. Pray the government sees into this and tries as much as possible to overcome these challenges. So dear viewers, we are wrapping up with our presentation, but before that, we'll be calling on the final speaker to give us the various heads of education. We've been talking about the educational system, but we've not mentioned those that are up there governing the rules for this education. So we are calling on the last speaker to tell us some statistics concerning the Cameroon educational system.
Okay, it should however be noted that in the context of Cameroon, as far as educational administration is concerned, education is headed by the three ministers of education, which is the Minister of Higher Education, Minister of Secondary Education, and the Minister of Basic Education. All these ministers are appointed by a presidential decree. The Minister of Basic Education in Cameroon, as of now, is Professor Laurent Sech-Etundi, the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jack Fernando. All these ministers hand down at the level of the region, power is handed down to the divisional delegates, which ensure the smooth functioning of education at the level of the region, and at the level of the division, powers are handed to the divisional delegate. With all this, it helps all these top administrative officials in the educational system helps to enhance the Cameroon educational system and to make the educational system to achieve its goals and objectives.
Finally, we call it a wrap. So thank you very much for watching. As it's always said, a sheep has a shepherd. We just named the various shepherds governing us the sheep. So we hope and we pray you learned something from the Cameroonian educational system. We thank you so much for watching, and we thank you for your patience. See you for the next.